arrived at Model Railways Unlimited.
Hi everyone, in this video we're going to take a look at two very similar looking diesel locomotives that were both part of the British Railways modernisation plan of the 1950s, the Class 15 and 16. These locomotives are a favourite of mine and surely are a must for any small layout. Both models are by Heljan. Yep, Heljan. Neither existed past the mid-1970s in service, however arguably the Class 15 was the more successful of the two designs, and in fact a Class 15 is in preservation. Check out the Facebook group to follow the progress of D8233 and support them. So here we go with the Class 15. The Class 15 was introduced in 1957 and 1961, was of Bobo wheel arrangement with a maximum speed of 60 miles per hour and a tractive effort of 37,500 pounds and diesel electric transmission. The Paxman 16Y HXL engine developed 800 horsepower, placing the loco in the Type 1 power classification. The locos would become known as the BTH Type 1s. The fleet was to be deployed to East Anglian routes, but due to local London authorities demanding the Clean Air Act be implemented, the BTH Types 1s were deployed to Devons Road Bow Depot and worked in East London. However, the reach was extended to include cross-London freights, allowing, sadly, steam to be withdrawn. Oddly enough, steam continued to work local passenger services right up until the end. The 15s and 16s had through steam pipes to allow steam heat equipped locos to provide steam to the train behind them. The pilot scheme awarded Clayton Equipment Company to construct a fleet of 10 Type 1 800 horsepower locomotives in November 1955, designated for local freight and branch line use. The engine was the Paxman 16Y HXL and drove British Thomson Houston BTH electrical equipment. During 1956-57, the Yorkshire Engine Company was subcontracted to build locos D8200 to D8209. During 1958 and 59, more orders were placed for identical locomotives, and this time Clayton built them in-house. Now numbering 44 locomotives, they could be found at work on empty stock workings at London's Liverpool Street and on secondary passenger and transfer freights. The first Class 15 D8200 was outshopped in grey undercoat and sent for testing over the Settle and Carlisle route in 1957. During the late 1960s it was decided to withdraw the Class 15s in favour of the more numerous and successful British Rail Class 20. As freight traffic by rail declined, so did the numbers of the Class 15s, until in the early 70s there were just two hanging on for ECS work at Stratford and Liverpool Street. 4 survived in departmental use as carriage heating units. Our Class 15 has quite a long petrol and fuel oil train from various suppliers. This train is being transferred across London to a large marshalling yard where it will be broken up again and combined with flows from other locations. The sharp-eyed may note that despite the newfangled diesel loco, the shunter that has made up this train has maintained steam safety practice and has all the Class B wagons behind the loco, with the Class A's following on. To keep the guard happy, there is even a barrier wagon between his van and the train. Now let's turn our attention to the Class 16. Outwardly very similar to the 15, they employed the same Paxman engine, developed slightly more tractive effort at £42,000, but were less compatible as they used red square multiple coupling code. Introduced from 1958 and built by the North British Locomotive Company, NBL, this time GEC traction equipment was used. The design was largely derived from the North British's earlier prototype locomotive designated number 10800, produced during the late 1940s. Originally shedded at Devons Road Depot in London, all 10 of the class were employed on similar duties to the Class 15s. However, even before the last of the class was delivered, serious technical problems meant the locomotives were spending more time in Stratford works than on duty. The main issue was the diesel engine, which had a tendency to seize up due to overheating. This was caused by inadequate ventilation, a fundamental design error. Another issue was water contamination of the oil, leading to bearing failures. The class was finally shedded at Stratford. As freight traffic declined in the 1960s, the Class 16 was soon deemed to be surplus to requirements, and all was sold for scrap during 1968. One notable working of the Class 16 was on a passenger special from Loughton in Essex to Brighton and back on the 22nd of May 1960. The difference between the 16s and 15s was that the 16s had spoked driving wheels, something Heljan has represented rather well. So that's the end of the class history. Now sit back and relax as the trains go by. Starting with the Class 15 and a rather heavy unfitted mineral train with just 3 wagons as a fitted head. He could do with a diesel brake tender, to be honest, but maybe there are no steep grades over the intended route. Passing in the opposite direction, the Class 16 has a nice fitted head of vans before some more mixed tank wagons, followed by 3 more mineral wagons. I hope you've enjoyed this video, part 2 of the series, looking at the short-lived diesel classes from the 1955 BTC plan.